home office is under construction, so you can see this, but let me say that again since it's now recorded. I'm not as
Sorry
cool
about
as Chris. Yeah, there you go. Just to get that on record. But I've got my wife and I have been married for 9 years. I've got three little ones, a 4-year-old who she's in the kitchen painting. She may wander in, who knows, a 2-year-old and a 4-month-old. And yeah, I've got a mega team in Virginia, and actually am an owner of another team that we launched with 3 other guys, and in Virginia as well, and then a training company called Business by Referral. So trying to be like Chris, I guess, but I love
That's
what I
awesome.
do, and I love helping agents in particular grow their business, and I'm very passionate about helping agents understand how to generate more business, of course, but convert it at a higher level and ultimately get their life back from the 80-hour work week or 70-hour work week to less than 40, which is what I've been able to do, thankfully, for the past 8 years. So yeah, excited to be here, Chris. I appreciate the opportunity.
Appreciate you joining us and pouring into us.
Yeah, man.
So let's talk about the psychology of consumers. Talk to me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I mean, there's a couple points that I think, and I'll run through real quickly. My belief system is that there's 7 reasons why relationships aren't working for salespeople. And first and foremost is that, excuse me, and I won't run through all of them, but first and foremost is that we're really impatient. And so we tend to not spend enough time to really develop the relationship that is needed. And I'll walk through how consumers make decisions and why that's important. But, we're used to an Amazon world, even, well, I guess with all the shortages and delays and everything, maybe not, but we're used to that 2-day shipping. And if it doesn't come in 2 days, it feels uncomfortable and we don't know what that's like. So we've been wired to move off so quickly from the things that take time. So that's one of the challenges that we have when we talk about psychology of consumers. I like to start, and this is why, but I like to start with our own psychology, right? What is getting in our own way? So that's one of the big problems that we have. The last 2 most important problems that I see that we have, Chris, and I'll get into the psychology of consumers, but is twofold. Number one, we approach clients in the wrong way. We approach potential customers in the wrong way. So let me explain. So most real estate agents, for example, we are taught that you put your sign in the yard with your face on it. You show up and you say, hey, don't worry, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, Garrett's here. I'm going to take care of you. This is why I'm the number 1 agent in town. This is my marketing plan. Let me tell you all about the stuff that I'm going to do and how good I am at it. And don't worry, you'll be okay. When in reality, when we really start to understand and study, and there's a great book called Building a Story Brand by Donald Miller that he talks about this, but when we really start to understand the role that we should be playing, most agents are taught to play the role of the hero. This is me, don't worry, hero's coming to save the day. When in reality, the consumers really desire to be the hero in their own story. We all do. And so real estate agents, instead of playing the hero, should be playing the part of a guide and showing up and making this about them. For example, spending time asking a lot of questions about, hey, I love your home. Tell me about your favorite parts. Oh, I love that, right? Sitting down and saying, I always say, so, hey, before we even get started, what fears or concerns do you have? Right? Great. Thank you so much for sharing. Hey, before we get started, if I could wave a magic wand and give you the absolute ideal experience, tell me what that would look like, right? And they don't typically know what that means. So I say, describe for me in detail, what does your new home look like? What does your new home smell like? What does the neighborhood feel like, right? So use those sense words to get them to really start emotionally explaining what's going on, because my goal as a guide is to write the story of the hero. And so I'm trying to understand who they are. And then after understanding that, saying, thank you so much for sharing that. Hey, I think I have a good plan to help you get where you want to go. Do you mind if I share that with you? Right? And they'll say, of course, right? Absolutely. And so the point is, we show up often as, I'm the best. This is why I'm here. Don't worry. I'm better than the other agents. I'll take care of you. When in reality, you can't have 2 heroes in the same story, right? It's not the Avengers. So in most stories, you can only have one real hero. And so they're going to clash if you try to be the hero and they want to be the hero. So show up as a guide. So that's number 2. And then number 3, a big challenge I think that consumers have is that real estate agents have, is we're answering the wrong questions. So When we show up, again, most of what we are taught is to show up to a consumer and a potential client and try to show them and convince them why we are the best agent for them, right? I mean, that's pretty natural. Here's how many homes I've sold. Here's whatever my rankings and blah, 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 whatever that looks like, right? And so we tend to lead with that. Well, when we start to understand two things, that number one, consumers only understand on average our business at a 2 out of 10 level. They don't understand our business at a 10 out of 10 level. So what we think might make us better than the agent next door, they have no concept of what's better or what's worse than the other person, right? So we're trying to convince them on a point that they don't even understand how to distinguish. So that's just going to confuse them, right? And instead, we need to be focused on the three questions that every consumer is asking when they make a buying decision. And this is directly from a famous college football coach from Notre Dame, Lou Holtz. This is what he always said when he would go recruit a student to come play for him. Is three questions everybody asks when they make a buying decision. Can I trust you? Are you good at what you do? And do you care about me? So can I trust you? Are you good at what you do? And do you care about me? When we dive in deeper into those three questions, what's really fascinating, so I love to research the psychology. So when I started to research and dive in deeper, again, you find first and foremost, most agents spend time on question number two is, are you good at what you do? That's where we spend our time talking. Again, consumers can only understand our business at a 2 out of 10 level. So our brains are wired so they can't distinguish, right? They don't know who the best agent is. I don't even know who the best agent is in my market, right? I can distinguish who's really good and who's not, but I don't know that I'm better than another agent. We're equal. I don't even know, right? It's hard for me to even distinguish, and I'm in the field. And so the reality is the way our brains are wired is to make easy decisions, right? Our brains are fight or flight. We're not wired to make really complicated decisions in a split second. So when we're asking those questions, can I trust you? Are you good at what you do? Do you care about me? The consumer brain will first go to, are they good at what they do? Because they can't answer that quickly because they can't distinguish, then our brains are wired to then go ask the questions that we can answer quickly, which is, I can tell relatively quickly whether you seem trustworthy, and I can tell relatively quickly whether it seems like you care about me. And so the interesting point is, if we can show these consumers that we're trustworthy and that we care about them, then all the research proves they will then assume that we're good at what we do as well. So by answering 1 and 3, we actually answer all of them. But instead, where most agents go try to answer number 2, we end up answering none of them. And all they are is confused when they leave. So that might be a lot of information at 8:10 in the morning, but hopefully that makes sense in terms of just where we come from and how we approach clients, I think, in the wrong way. And we need to readjust. So for example, and then I'll pause for a second, Chris, sorry. But for example, my listing packet doesn't even say anything about our marketing plan. The first 2 pages on our listing packet say, here's the questions you should be asking. Number 1, can I trust you? Number 2, are you good at what you do? Number 3, do you care about me? And we answer those, right? And so here you go. Here's our information. And because I think that understanding, so in my 8 years, literally had 100% conversion with buyers and a 95% conversion with sellers. And I think a big part of that is just understanding how to approach them and what they really want to know and how to really distinguish myself versus, maybe another agent that they're talking to.
My God, there's so much to unpack there. I mean, so many good nuggets you just talked about. First of all, can you share your listing presentation with us or with me?
Absolutely,
man. I'll share it. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, I'll email to you.
And I love the fact that you brought up, that saying from Lou Holtz, because I know it very well. And I think it's so important that it's not really about, it is about, being the best at your craft, but it's really about, do you care about me and do you trust me? And in any relationship, but certainly I think we have 1 or 2 team leaders. We have 2 team leaders on here. From a recruiting standpoint, that's so important. It's not, hey, I'm really good at what I do. It's, they want to know, hey, do you trust me? Right. And do you care about me? Which I think is so important. When you focus on that, everything else kind of works itself out. And that's kind of what I got from what you were just talking about.
Yeah. And it's amazing. And I'll give a quick example too, Chris. And when I'm teaching,
Yeah.
I always share, about my dentist, right? So I use that same example and I say, I love my dentist, Dr. Archer, and he should pay me for how many times I say his name. But I love my dentist, Dr. Archer, right? But if someone were to ask me, Garrett, is your dentist the best dentist in your city? I would say, I honestly have no idea, right? Like, I don't know what it takes to be a great dentist. I don't know if he's terrible or if he's really good. I have no concept of that, right? I'm a real estate agent. So, but I can determine that he seems really trustworthy and he really is a genuine man. And so I think he really does care. So, unless he screws something up really bad, I'm just going to keep assuming that he's really good, right? Like, I have no concept of that. So we somehow have believed in the real estate world that though that's true in every area of our life, that somehow our consumers can distinguish if we're better than the other person, and they just can't. They don't know our industry, right? So that's just not how this works. So yeah, when we really start to unpack all of those pieces to it, even a contractor, for example, most contractors, I've talked and taught actually many contractors, but most contractors think, well, they're just going to go call 100 people and get a quote, and whichever one's the cheapest, that's what they're going to do. And it's like, that's not true at all. Most of the time for us and our own family, I've got a contractor I really know and trust and like him a lot. I have no idea if he's better than everybody else or he's worse than everybody else, but I trust that he cares to do the job well. I trust that he's not going to gouge me on price. And so I call him, and if he gives me a price that makes sense, like, great, let's go for it. Right? That's how people make decisions. We have to understand that as real estate agents, that even more so in a huge financial decision, those two pieces, trust and care, are going to be amplified in the minds of the consumer because they're not going to be able to distinguish who's better. Why does somebody have beautiful professional photos, but then there's an agent in my market, for example, super nice guy that sells like 100 homes a year, and he takes photos with his phone, and they're terrible photos, and he takes like 8 and then he puts them on the market. Why does he get so much business? Well, because consumers don't know the difference, right? They trust this guy, and he's a really nice guy. Don't get me wrong. He's really good at what he does other than photos, but they trust him, and they can't distinguish what makes him better or worse than anybody else, right? So we just have to understand what they're thinking and give them what they need.
Love that. Hopefully you're getting referrals from your dentist, man.
I don't think I have yet. You're right. I need to call him.
You better get on that, buddy.
Yeah. Right.
I have a question for you. We always talk about, gaining listings, right? In such a tight market, especially with listings. How do you attract buyers based on what we're talking about?
Yeah. So we've been fortunate. So my team is 100% referral. And it is because we wanted to start with immediate trust, right? And my passion and my excitement for our team is, if we need to sell 150 homes, then we need to get 155 referrals. And statistically, we're going to get 150 of them, right? So from a perspective of attracting buyers or sellers, when it comes to, so I'll backtrack. I'll answer your question, then backtrack a little bit. But when it comes to attracting a particular client, what I have seen is, so we have a system that we talk to our clients specifically, like an actual relationship conversation once a month. And so if I need buyers or I need sellers, all I do is change the dialogue a little bit. So for example, if I need buyers, I'll say, hey, Chris, great talking to you. By the way, if you know anyone that is thinking about buying a home, now is a great time to do it. Interest rates are amazingly low, blah, 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 whatever the script is. So if you know anyone thinking about buying, I'd love to help them, right? So all I'm doing is triggering my clients to think about what I want them to think about. So that's not maybe a super easy answer in terms of, one of the challenges I think people have with the relational aspect is, I can't say that I have that conversation and then immediately get a client back, right? I can't tell you there's a one-to-one relationship. Can't tell you to talk to 100 people in your database and you'll get a deal. I don't know that answer. It's the culmination of the effort in the relationship that you're building. So for us, it is just shifting the script a little bit to specifically tell them what we're looking for, right? So, and that's worked. We've used that way more with sellers, to be honest, than buyers, because buyers tend to just come and, especially the younger generation. So the millennial generation, believe it or not, they have the highest percentage of any generation of choosing a referral over anything else, right? 91% of them have said they choose a referral over anything else. So the young generation that grew up on technology doesn't trust it, right? And so the reality is, even the young people who are the ones that are coming in and buying most often, they're the ones that are just going to go ask their friends. We'd more have used that to say, hey, if you know anyone thinking about selling, this is the time to do it, X, Y, and Z. And we've been able to increase our numbers that way. So does that answer your question, Chris? I hope it does.
It does. And you just sparked something that I was watching a podcast actually this morning with Ed Milet and Dr. Amishi Jha, which she was talking about putting a flashlight on the thoughts in your mind. So what you're talking about is when you're talking to a buyer, you're reminding them, you're putting a flashlight in their mind to remind them to give you a referral, right? Because they're not thinking about giving you a referral, right? That's like all the way in the back of their head. So you reaching out to them and telling them, hey, you know what? Do you know any buyers right now that are looking to buy with interest rates being so low right now? All of a sudden, it goes right to the front of the mind. And if you continue to do that and you continue to keep in touch with your database, it's the same thing, right? So I love that you brought that up because I think it's really important.
Yeah. And everything, we're working on right now, actually developing with our training company, just a course that is going to talk about how relationships are the foundation of anything, whether you have, so the other team that I have ownership in, we have huge online lead presence, right? We have an inside sales agent. We do open houses. Yeah, we do referrals too, of course, right? But how everything falls back on the relationship and just understanding what humans are going to make decisions, how humans are going to make decisions and what they really want and look for, right? Why is there such a low conversion rate on online leads? Because there's no trust. I mean, that's just the basic truth of anything. When you go buy a used car, which, is super expensive right now, but what's the saying of used car salesmen? Well, they're not trustworthy. They're sleazy, right? So there's challenges with that to just start. Hi, sweetie. Sorry, my daughter wanted to say hi. But there's,
hey.
Can you say hi, sweetie?
Hi,
Hi.
my name's Hattie.
Aw. Hey, I'm Chris. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, daddy finished, baby?
Okay.
Okay, you can come sit with me. So there's just challenges when it comes to overcoming that trust factor, right? And so we've got to understand as consumers, and I honestly lost my place a little bit, but we've got to understand as consumers how to overcome that, or excuse me, as agents, how to overcome that. But if you don't mind, Chris, I'll show or walk through the 3 reasons or 3 decision-making points for consumers, and the psychology of consumers actually get into that. But so the first point for them obviously is trust, which we've talked about, and we'll come back to that one. The second one is the reality is people refer people that they like, right? They want the people they like to succeed. And I know that seems so basic, but it's just true, right? And I'll give you an example. If anybody has ever had an experience where a friend of theirs went and started a business. So I had a friend who started a coffee shop. I had never been to the coffee shop, but I love this guy, right? His name's Daniel. Love Daniel, deeply wanted him to succeed, just a great guy. So what did I do? I told everyone, hey, you need to try out his coffee shop, right? Now, I don't know if it's good or not. Maybe I shouldn't do that, but we're wired that if I like this person, I really want them to succeed, right? I really deeply desire that he's going to succeed. And so I'm going to tell people about him. So from a consumer psychology perspective, again, when we're trying to convert at a higher level, or we're trying to generate referrals from somebody, what real estate agents often don't spend time on is working on their likability. If it is important to be likable, which it is, whether they're going to choose to work with you, whether they're going to choose to pass somebody off, why are agents not spending any time working on likability and spending all their time working on scripts, right? Hold up, baby. So the reality is, so for example, one of the things that I went around and started doing when I was really trying to increase my likability, because no one's going to be a 10 out of 10, right? Like you just can't be that, especially not to everyone. So I made it a point for me to go ask people that I knew, hey, rank me on a scale of 1 to 10. How likable are you? Right. And specifically my assistant, for example, I was thinking, well, I'm definitely an 8 or 9. I give her a ton of time off. Like I'm super flexible and she gets paid well and she loves her job. So I thought for sure I'm a 9, right? She says, you're like a 6.5. I'm like, wait, what? Oh, my 6.5, right? But I said, well, hey, I'm not offended by any, like, please tell me how, or please tell me why. And she said, well, most of the time, if I have an idea, unless I can convince you it was yours, you're never going to listen. I was like, wow, first of all, I'm sorry, but that's really good feedback. right? I want to work on my likability. I want to understand how I'm being perceived and how I'm approaching people around me because of how important that is. I want to be in business with people that I like, right? I don't want to do business with a contractor, no matter how good they are, if I just can't stand them, right? That's not how humans make decisions. So again, the consumer psychology, they want the people they like to succeed. They want to work with people they like, right? And then finally, excuse me, they want to be associated with winners. So the association principle, there's an awesome book called Influence by a psychologist named Robert Cialdini. So they want to be associated with people that they perceive are winners, which is why, so I use this example all the time. Do you have a favorite? I shouldn't ask you a favorite football team, Chris, because I'm guessing if it's not the Eagles, that's not okay. But if it is the Eagles, then that's unfortunate.
Believe it or not, it's not the Eagles.
Oh, who's your favorite football team?
Well, I'm originally from Jersey, so unfortunately, it's the Giants.
The Giants. Okay. So you feel my pain because, yeah, Dana doesn't like that. You feel my pain because I'm a Dolphins fan and we are equally as terrible. But what's really interesting, so if we think about our favorite football team, right, and this is a small little nuanced piece or nuanced difference, but when your favorite football team wins, what do you say? You walk around and say, yeah, we won. Right? I'm so excited that we won. When the team loses, what do we walk around and say? I can't believe that they lost, right? If we just pay attention to that small distinction that we naturally will associate with winners and naturally disassociate with losers, right? That's just how we are wired. So when we apply that to the business world and apply that to what's happening in our own real estate business, we have to understand that our clients want to associate with a winner. Now, having referrals is a huge way to do that. Building the relationship is a huge way to do that because someone's going to say, hey, person B, Garrett, needs to buy a home. Can you help them? And person B says to the person A who's referring me, hey, well, tell me about Garrett. Oh, he's awesome. He'll take amazing care of you. Like his team is amazing, right? They don't have a clue how good my team is, but his team's amazing. They'll take really good care of you, right? This person B is thinking, well, I want to work with the winner, right? If I said, well, go work with the Miami Dolphins, you'd be like, I don't want to be on that team. They're terrible, right? He or she wants to associate with a winner, and they're naturally going to do that versus the person that has the reputation and is, just simply, not that cold calling is wrong by any means, but simply going off a script to convince you, come work with me and I'm the best agent out there, X, Y, and Z, instead of, hey, let's just build a relationship, build trust here, right? Because that trust is going to make me desire to actually associate with you versus disassociate with what I perceive as someone who's losing or, not at a high talent or whatever it looks like. So I know I don't want to go over time. There's a lot to unpack there, but hopefully that makes sense. But it is the associating with the winner. So the association principle, the likability factor, and then the trust factor. Those are the three things. When you really start to dive into psychology and how consumers are making decisions, that's it. In any field, that's how they're making a decision when it comes to who they're going to work with. Again, 91% of people will choose a referral. So instead of going after that 9%, I want to go after the 91% and understand how those people are going to, or how those people are wired and how they're going to make a decision based off relationship. And what do I need to do to present myself in the right way?
Love that, man. All good stuff. As I'm looking at the screen too, it's so great. Isn't it great that we're able to get on a call? I see a couple of you with your children and being able to learn and listen and be together, but still be able to have your kids with you, right? I just think that's awesome. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love being live in person. I'm a hugger and I love seeing people. And I think that's awesome. But I think it's equally as great that we're able to get on a call like this and you're able to be with your kids and stuff. So I just wanted to say that because I think
absolutely
it's pretty cool. Yeah.
Sure.
So we have 4 or 5 minutes left, and I want to leave that for Q&A. So who has questions for Garrett or any feedback?
I have a question.
Sure.
Actually, kind of just builds on Garrett, what you were saying earlier about your listing presentation. And it's not about 200 homes that you want, sold most recently, but really about developing that rapport and likability and trust. So what do you what do you put in your packet? You kind of brushed on it before, where you seek to answer the questions. Can you trust me? Am I good? Do you care? Or do you like me? And do you
Yeah,
care?
do you care about me? Yeah.
Right. So what would you put in like a listing presentation to kind of gather that information? Like when I walk into a listing presentation, I'm just like you. I want them to like me, and I want to know who they are and why they fell in love with the house that they're trying to sell and where they're going. Right. So that's where I steer my conversation when I have a listing meeting in person. But how do you kind of like have that support material and framework, to like, what do you leave them with?
Yeah, so great question. So, and again, I'll send it out to Chris so he can share it, but it's really very basic. It's those 3 questions at the beginning, and then we just walk them like a nice little 1-pager that just explains what the process is going to look like, right? So just a reminder, here's what every step is along the way. And then it goes into who our team is, how we work, like who they're going to work with. And then it just has bios of everybody on the team. So it really, like, not that I think that a robust listing packet is not helpful. I think it certainly is. But again, most of it is based on trust and care. So we don't even open the listing packet when I'm there, because to me, the majority of the time is literally just spent listening and understanding. So one of the rules of communication, a principle of communication, is you can't influence someone until you have first been influenced by them, right? So you can't influence someone until you've first been influenced by them, meaning like you're talking about, asking tons of questions, listening, understanding, tell me what your fears and concerns are. I want to understand that. Great. Let me explain. I've got a good plan for you. So my process in a listing presentation is I've got the packet that I leave with them, which again, I'll share with you. We don't even really talk about it at all. Excuse me. It's, well, I asked those questions, what are your fears and concerns? Number 2, what's the ideal scenario? Great. Well, let's talk about pricing, right? So we go into pricing. 4th, I talk about how the market works, and 5th, how we work. So how the market works is, this is what's going on right now. Buyers, there's such high demand and low supply. And so you're probably going to get a lot of showings and, whatever it is, we're going to walk through what the market is like right now. And then how we work is working by relationship, right? So hold on one sec, baby. I spend very little.
I just want the microphone.
Okay. I spend very little time. Actually, I don't spend any time talking about the packet. Hold on one second. I don't spend any time talking about the packet. And actually, one trick that I've learned is I spend anything related to pricing, I actually email that to them in advance. So for example, our process is I gather some information in advance. So, hey, I send them an email. Obviously I know what their address is, but how much do you owe? I could send all this stuff out, but I'm getting information in advance. I give them preliminary numbers of what I think their home is worth. And so I send them numbers that I think their home is worth and say, hey, if that seems to make sense, let me know. I'll come and we'll talk about it. We'll go through the presentation. Because one of the things that I've learned is if I know that what I'm going to tell someone is going to create an emotional response, I want to send it to them in writing in advance, because I don't want to talk to their emotions. I want to talk to their rational brain, right? So they've already got the numbers in advance. So when I get to pricing, it's okay, great. I know you guys said this would work. Let's talk through that. And it just makes it a lot easier. When you're sharing negative information, hey, Chris, hey, just want to let you know, whatever, the buyers seem like they're going to be asking for a ton of repairs. I'm in a meeting right now, but as soon as I can get to you, I'm going to email you what they asked for. As soon as I get a chance, I'm going to call you, right? Great. Here it is. Let them work through their emotions, let them get their frustration out. And then I'm going to talk to their rational brain. That's huge. And we use that for listening too. I don't know if that answers your question, Daphne. I feel like I rambled, but I apologize, but I'll send all that stuff out.
It actually does. Yeah. Because I've had, Zoom meetings with potential buyers, and I don't have them yet. And I noticed like they don't want the packet. They just want to see, do you know your information? Do you have product knowledge? And are you asking the right questions to get them what they want?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Awesome. Great stuff. I have time for one more question.
Hey, Garrett, this is Stefan from Wilmington, Keller Williams. Question I have is how much of the disc profile do you actually use when it comes to your client?
How much of the disc profile?
Yes.
Yeah, great question. So I don't implement that or use that. Now, I do ask this question. I have my team ask this question, for example. We're always trying to explore and understand how they want us to treat them. So, sort of a disc profile question. But for example, if we're working with a buyer, I have my team say, okay, so some buyers like this, right? This is what we typically do is we'll set you up on a portal. You'll be able to see what's out there. You'll let us know what you want to see. When something pops up, great, we'll go take a look at it. Awesome, right? Other clients really want us to just set up homes for them to see, not send them anything, just tell them we're going to take a look at the home, update them literally every single day on whether there's something new. And there's kind of two different pieces here. Which one do you want, right? Or for a seller, hey, do you want, so some people love that we update them every day on exactly what's going on. Others say, just wait till we get an offer and then tell me, right? I don't care about anything else until then. And we ask that question and let them tell us what they want. So that's kind of like a disc question to understand what kind of personality we're dealing with. So I don't know if that helps, Steve, but that's really what we're doing is we're just asking questions to try to understand, what is it that they want from us, and then just try to be that.
Awesome. I appreciate you, brother. You're awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Thanks for being on. And everyone else, I hope you got a lot out of this call. I know I did. There's a lot of great stuff in there, man. And I'll talk to you soon, Garrett. Anytime you want to expand in Philadelphia, let me know, buddy.
I appreciate that. That's awesome. And I'll send you a bunch of stuff, Chris. So whatever you think is helpful, I'll send all the stuff that I use for listening to what Daphne asked for.
All right. Appreciate you, brother.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks,
Bye,
guys.
everyone.
Thanks, y'all. Have a
See ya.
good day.
You too.